it is. What is DNA? Like what, when you want to say the full name? Awesome. What's its main job? We know, let's actually add. We know that it carries and stores genetic information, right? What is that info for? For what? The main job of DNA. To make what? Nope. Proteins. Remember, what makes ribosomes? Nucleolus. Along, and where's DNA in there? So they're kind of working together, all in the function to make protein, okay? That is, how many pick collage? You had to tell me the composition of DNA, which is made up of 3 main parts. But those 3 parts have a name. Anybody know what that name is?
Oh, yeah.
Nucleotide. Good. So the building blocks, remember when we did carbs, lipids, and proteins? DNA is the 4th organic compound of life, which we leave to do on its own. So the building blocks of carbs were what? Nobody remembers? Sugar. The building blocks of lipids were? Fatty acids. And the building blocks of proteins? Now the building blocks of DNA are nucleotides, okay? Nucleotides store that information. So that little block, I put a little block there, of each part of DNA holds an information code, okay? Now what's in that block? Sugar. What kind of sugar? Anybody know? Deoxyribose, which is a 5-carbon sugar. Good. What else? Phosphate. And a nitrogen base. That which are?
Adenine, thymine, guanine, or cytosine.
Awesome. And we know that adenine always pairs with? Thymine. And cytosine always pairs with? Guanine. And who told us that? What scientist? Sharp. So we know the building blocks. We got to know them in order because the way they're arranged is how you determine a sequence. Yes, Jenna.
Okay, that is phosphate.
Good.
That is the sugar, the deoxyribose.
So let's add right here deoxy.
You can spell it.
And it's a 5-carbon sugar. If you look at the structure, it has 5 little corners. And the last thing is?
Base.
And base. So if I was ever to ask you a question like, what can differentiate from one nucleotide to the next? What's your answer?
Base.
The base. A nucleotide will always have a phosphate connected to a 5-carbon sugar, which is connected to a base. But the bases can be adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. And these look like little puzzles. This is actually from one of the first bio books I ever had. And look how they're puzzled. Because if I take adenine, and I don't think I can, yeah. You can turn it around and it fits together perfectly because they bond together perfectly, okay? Anybody know what holds adenine to thymine? Hydrogen bond. Good. You guys are so smart. These shapes are not concrete. These are molecules. So when you look at DNA, Watson and Crick's model, you see how there's a whole bunch of spikes because that's what the compound looks like. What you have to know is that phosphate is attached to the sugar and the sugar is attached to the base. And then we're going to put each nucleotide together and you have to know how they're connected, okay? But these shapes that I put here, they're not like that on the test, okay? I could just put a line. All right, moving on now.
You have to know that thymine and adenine, you have to know that they're connected by hydrogen.
Yes, we're going over that next, okay? So this is one nucleotide structure and composition. Now we're going to build them. So we're going to build a DNA model by combining each nucleotide because a DNA strand is blocks of nucleotides. So how do they combine is what we're going to do next. Yeah, we're going to look at the entire model now. Nucleotides connect to form what? See, I twist the question and you go blank. DNA. See how easy that was? What's the shape of DNA?
Double helix.
Double helix, which looks like what?
2 letters.
Awesome. 2 letters that are twisted. Remember that because when you think of the backbone and the steps of DNA, it's going to help you understand how it's arranged if you kind of start putting that in your head. Does anybody know why DNA twists?
Because it's too big.
Yep. It is such a big, remember that all my organic compounds are macromolecules, which means they're large molecules. DNA is so big, and where's it found? In the nucleus of a cell, which you know is microscopic. So in order to fit in there, it has to coil up, right, to make its shape fit. Are we good? So we can break up DNA. Here's a nucleotide, right? I'm going to circle it right here on my thing. Right here. Yes? Okay? But if we want to like call something a backbone, this is what the backbone is. So now that we know what a nucleotide is, and I'm referencing the backbone, what makes up a backbone? Look at the little picture inside here.
Sugar and phosphate.
Phosphate and 5-carbon sugar make up the backbone. So what makes up the steps? The bases. You see the ladder right here? We're stepping up. So the backbone is phosphate and 5-carbon sugar, and the bases are attached. Now, how does phosphate and 5-carbon sugar connect? How does one nucleotide connect to another? No. How does one nucleotide on one side of the ladder connect to another? Look at the picture. Don't guess. Look at the picture. Nope. Nope. How does one nucleotide on one side of the ladder connect to another? I'm going to have to pause for that one. Ladder, phosphates combine to each sugar. So you got phosphate sugar connected to another phosphate sugar, right? Then if you're going to combine one side of the strand with the other, how are those connected? Hydrogen bonds, which are in between what? The bases. So N bases connect to each other because adenine connects to thymine, but it's held together by hydrogen bonds. Okay? So right here, adenine connects to thymine, and they're connected by hydrogen bonds. And here you don't see that. You just see their connection, but inside that connection is hydrogen bonds. And here's what I was describing before. You see the molecular structure? This is adenine and thymine, and they're connected by these bonds right here that are the blue dots. They don't look like pieces of puzzles, right? They just fit together like a puzzle because they always want to find each other. So if I mention the word DNA replication, which is actually something DNA does, it replicates. Why? To reproduce itself so that the cell can make a new one. Because if the cell doesn't have DNA, it can't carry the genetic information for the cell to function to do what? Make protein, okay? That's what it's all about, okay? So when does this happen? Okay, actually, what does replication mean? DNA is doing what? Recreating. What else? Copying itself. What else? Keep coming at words because all these words can be different on the test. Recreating, copying, duplicating, cloning. I like it. And when does it happen? Think of the cell cycle.
Mitosis.
S phase of interphase. So we call that, what's the S phase stand for? So there's another word, synthesizing, yes? That's what it's doing. So in order for replication to occur, this is what happens. DNA unzips. You see it right here. This should have been a full strand, and it's in blue. So that's the original strand. It unzips, and then each side is copied. But really what happens, and let's put that in parentheses, is new corresponding nucleotides come in. What do you think I mean by that? Yes.
You have to match it, so like the G has to get a C.
Correct. So if you split the molecule, and here's a G, so on this side was C, and DNA unzipped, on this side a C is going to come, and on this side the G is going to come. And I'm going to show you an animation now.